Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for being the reason my friend's daughter had to go to the hospital? I know the title sounds horrible, but I don't know how else to put it. I'm not a very busy person. I don't start college until September and I don't have a job, so not much to do. A few weeks ago my friend Alice, 22F, came to my door with her daughter Millie, 3F, and told me she really needs me. Apparently she had an emergency to attend to, and she needed an urgent sitter. She didn't really ask, and just gave me the kid and a bag of toys and books, and told me she would be back in a few hours. I have no problem with this. Millie is a very sweet kid, and she knows me well enough to be comfortable around me. Still, it was a bit unexpected, but I was going out to the cinema, so I thought I would take her with me, and we would walk around a bit and watch something. Everything went smoothly. We watched a movie together. Millie seemed happy, and I was enjoying my time as well. Then we went to the park, and I thought it would be nice to get us some ice cream. We both had vanilla swirls and she seemed to enjoy it for a bit, but as soon as we got home she started throwing up, and developed what seemed to be a rash. I thought maybe she got a bug or something, and called her mom, but when she didn't pick up I took her to the hospital. Apparently, Millie has a mild allergy to dairy. Alice did not tell me this. I have never seen Alice give her dairy, but I thought that was a dietary choice, and to be honest, I did not take that much notice to it. I never knew this explicitly. She was safe and nothing bad was going to happen to her, but she was obviously very uncomfortable until the antihistamines kicked it. I kept calling Alice and she only picked up a few hours later, and as soon as I told her we were at the hospital, she got furious. When she came in she yelled at me telling me I was trying to kill her baby because I had to take care of her on such short notice, and I was an idiot for not knowing her child would react like this to ice cream. I apologized many times, sent them cards, and a present for Millie, but apparently she has been telling our group of friends that I tried to hurt Millie and I should not be trusted around children. Some of our friends berated me for my lack of attention, and told me I would have to carry the responsibility if anything worse had happened to Millie. I tried to explain I didn't know and nothing worse was going to happen, and I did my best to help her, but it still became a divisive event. Am I the antagonist? Is it really all my fault? I really want what's best for Millie and I would never do anything to hurt her. Cease. Stop talking to her. An accident occurred. If you are a parent of a child who has allergies, you must inform everyone who might watch your child. Additionally, you can still be reached if you leave your child with a babysitter. Your phone is checked. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. NTA. It is the responsibility of the allergy sufferer/their guardian to tell you of their allergies. You ain't psychic. Explain the full situation to your friends. She didn't tell me that Millie was allergic to dairy when we went to get ice cream, and Millie reacted badly. I immediately took her to the hospital. I think this is pretty responsible. Actually, NTA and tack on. I called her mom a bunch of times and got no answer. Side note, who the F doesn't answer calls from the person watching their child? Unless your friend is a surgeon and actually couldn't, because she was wrist deep in someone's intestines. WTF. NTA. If your kid has a food allergy, you tell the babysitter she has a food allergy. If it's a milk allergy and not a casein intolerance, which it sounds like it is, that can be fatal. And so not only should she have warned you, but she should have given you an EpiPen and showed you how to use it. She's irresponsible and this is entirely her fault. I was surprised to hear it called mild. Vomiting and hives means allergy, not intolerance. And mild allergies can become more than that. So leaving her at a sitter without EpiPen and instructions is extremely negligent. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister my ex was coming on our Disney trip no matter what? I want to take my son to Disney and I asked my sister if her family wanted to come too, as I thought it would be more fun for my son if there were other kids coming. When I mentioned it to my ex, he told me he would like to be there as it's going to be the first time our son has gone to Disney. I ended up inviting him along for 2 reasons. The first is that Hez paying for the trip, and the second is Hez invited me when he organizes things that are firsts for our son that he knows I won't want to miss. My sister isn't his biggest fan, but I thought she would be okay with it considering she knows how hard we've been trying to get along for our son's sake, and saying he couldn't come won't jeopardize that. When I told her I had invited him, she flipped out and told me to uninvite him. She wouldn't listen, even after I explained he was paying for the trip and even after her husband said he was happy he was coming. I ended up getting upset and telling her he was coming no matter what, and if she didn't want to come anymore that's up to her. Now she's upset with me and thinks I'm choosing that bastard over her. Am I the antagonist? I'm attempting to understand why she feels so strongly about his presence. You somehow managed to go from trying to get along to taking vacations together in your co-parenting relationship, more than merely getting along for your son. It appears like you are erasing boundaries in this situation. Comment by team member Jordan. Now for the top comments. NTA, you're killing it with the co-parenting. I love hearing stories where parents do this. So much pure love for their child. It's exactly how co-parenting should be. NTA, you're choosing your son. It's super important for him to see healthy relationships, and that means co-parenting in a way that shows you and his dad respect each other. Being a little kid who has to constantly deal with feuding parents is so stressful and leads to so many problems in adulthood. Not only did my parents divorce, but my mother talked about my father in the most horrible ways you can imagine. No child should have to go through that. Kudos to op. Info. Did your sister and her family already buy tickets/accommodations before being told? No. We haven't booked anything yet. Am I the antagonist for how I reacted to my brother-in-law walking into the room while I was breastfeeding? Everybody knows that if my library door is closed, it means I'm breastfeeding my son, so they shouldn't just walk in, since I don't like to breastfeed with an audience. Even my husband knocks before walking in. My brother-in-law wanted to ask me a question and just walked in without knocking because he forgot and was in a rush. I tried to quickly cover myself and screamed at him to get out. My son started crying and I knew it was going to take me forever to get him to latch again, so I was really angry and upset. I know it was probably an overreaction, but at the time I wanted to cry. I was so upset. My brother-in-law did apologize and then got defensive because I had stopped feeding my son so I could cover myself. He told me I could keep feeding him and that he would never look at me in that way because I was his brother's wife. I kept yelling at him to get the hell out, but he wouldn't because my husband told him to ask me if I was okay with the dates he had chosen for a surprise trip to visit their grandparents, and he needed to know as soon as possible. He only left because my husband kicked him out after hearing me yelling at him. My husband did apologize to me, but I kept telling him I didn't want his brother coming to the house anymore. Even though he agreed to tell his brother not to come over for the foreseeable future, I could see he wasn't happy about it. Am I the antagonist? I would let everyone know that going forwards. The door will be locked when you nurse. Get a lock if the door knob doesn't already have one. Get a flippable sign that indicates when the space is being used for breastfeeding and hang it on the door with a command hook. Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. I kept yelling at him to get the hell out, but he wouldn't. He only left because my husband kicked him out after hearing me yelling at him. Way too many people seem to be missing this. Op isn't banning him because he barged in, went sorry when she yelled, and left. She's uncomfortable because he wouldn't leave when she was incredibly uncomfortable. She never said anything about indecent thoughts. She just doesn't like being watched breastfeeding. Not the a-hole. Though it's probably not realistic long term. Not sure how to get your brother-in-law to understand how gross it was to do that. He's centering his inference that you think he's creepy over your obvious discomfort that wasn't about him. Got NTA. Brother-in-law walking in could be an innocent mistake, but then he stayed. He could have just shut the door and asked his question through the door. And this emergency question seems like a ruse. It was so time sensitive he couldn't wait 15 minutes. Am I the antagonist for laughing and insulting my coworker instead of explaining his mistake to him? Using a throwaway, because I don't want this to be connected to main account. I was born and brought up in India. I moved to Paris some time ago and started a new job about the same time as my American coworker Dave. Both of us are in the same position and often have to work together. A few weeks ago, we had to present something to a British company, and since most people in our office are French, our boss asked me to do the presentation work and the communication. It was very clear that this greatly upset Dave, who made it clear that he thought he was more qualified for this than me. He talked to the boss about it, and I later found out that he had said that I wouldn't be able to communicate clearly as English isn't my first language and I have a strong South Asian accent, whereas his first language is English. Our boss still denied his request. Ever since, Dave started acting really cold and distant and often behaved passive-aggressively. On Thursday, we had to do a paper on something, and so I did my part and mailed it to him. Yesterday, when we were at the office, he smugly called him to his cubicle and showed me a red squiggly line on the word color with a U, the way I was taught to spell it, and triumphantly told me that my English wasn't as good as I made it out to be, and it showed that I'm from a developing country. I couldn't help it. I laughed very loudly to the point that another coworker, Margaret, turned around to ask what was wrong. I told her that Dave wasn't aware that his Americanized version of English words isn't the only acceptable spelling, and that he thought that color with a U is incorrect. Margaret chuckled. This made Dave flush, and he looked really embarrassed. This made me stop laughing, and I apologized to him. He forgave me then, but later told me in private that I could have just calmly told him his mistake instead of embarrassing him in front of someone else. I feel really bad now and think that I might be the asshole here. Am I the antagonist? I was born and raised in the United States, where there are variances in the spelling of English in America and Europe. How could he be from Europe and not be aware of this? Dave ought to be able to take it when he gets it, if he can be a jerk to you. Comment by team member Corey. Now for the top comments. NTA Dave needs to fact check himself before correcting you. Karma is a bitch. But he did fact check. He trusted the squiggly line. /s. It probably wasn't even a spelling error line, but a style suggestion. Like your preferences / the rest of the document are American English, but FYI this is British spelling. But he saw squiggly line and assumed spelling mistake. How weird to get a professional job in France, presumably learning at least some French, and not be aware of the most basic difference between different forms of written English, while also being such a stickler for language when it comes to foreigners' coworkers. NTA Dave pointed out the U in color with the specific intent to humiliate you, and the comment about the developing country was racist and frankly appalling. Next time Dave mocks your English, say him you can't wait to hear how good he is in your native language. NTA. He was mocking you, so returning the favor doesn't seem unreasonable. And he's probably heard of Gandhi. I wonder if your coworker knows which empire he was working to gain Indian independence from. Am I the antagonist for letting my GF go hungry while waiting for me? Hi, my 26 male GF 26F has two peculiar habits. She would always earlier for everything. Job interviews, dates, flights. It's not 15 minutes early but 1 hour. For flights she will arrive 4 hours before the departure time. The other is she would always wait for me to do something. Queue for something. Wait for me before queuing. Mealtime. Wait for me before eating. Normally this wouldn't be an issue until yesterday. We were supposed to have lunch together at 1:30 p.m. So I have decided to hit the gym at 12 p.m. Around 12:40 p.m. she called me asking where am I. I told her I will finish around 1 p.m. and reached 1:20 p.m. She asked me to finish my workout faster. I told her no, and she could eat first if she was hungry, and I hung up. She texted me several times asking me to hurry up. I finished my workout around 12:55 p.m. and reached the restaurant around 1:18 p.m. I couldn't find my GF, so I called her. She didn't pick up. I waited till 1:35 p.m. before calling her again. She picked up and I asked her where is she. She told me she got hungry while waiting for me, so she went home. She told me she let me wait for 17 minutes, 1:20 p.m. to 1:35 p.m. to let me have a taste of my own medicine. I said thanks for informing sarcastically and hung up. She tried calling me again today, but I didn't answer. I texted her, don't bother calling until you apologize. Am I the antagonist? I do plan to show her this post. When someone says 1:30, it usually means that they plan to arrive between 1:15 and 1:40. It is rude to show up at a party that starts at 6 p.m. unless you are specifically asked to do so. Do you anticipate someone dropping everything to arrive 1 hour early? Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. NTA. She needs to see a therapist for her anxiety over time management. Getting places hours early and demanding others humor her is way out of bounds. Honestly, I'm also the kind of person arriving 4 hours before flight time and arriving early at places. But when I do, I just take a walk or sit somewhere and play on my phone. It is easy to live with. When I fly with someone, for example, I will always discuss this issue and often simply travel alone and meet at the plane or whatever place we are going to, but I would never expect someone else to be half an hour earlier or even more. That is a real move. NTA. Being early is fine. Being an hour early is a bit weird, but also fine, as long as you don't make it anyone else's problem. She made it your problem. So she's star. If you're going to be early, you have to be patient. You can't expect everyone else to abide by your schedule. Right? What's the point of making plans for 1:30 if that really means you need to be there at 12:40? Am I the antagonist for telling my sister she knows full well why our dad didn't offer to contribute to her wedding? Throwaway and fake names. I know it's a bit long, and I've tried to limit the background info because of word limits. My 33 female dad's told us, me and my siblings before, that he will contribute a certain amount for our weddings. We don't have to take it, but he'll offer it, and anything more is up to the person getting married to sort out. Dad contributed to my wedding in 2019 as well as my half sister's a few months ago. My sister Jane, 30 female, she's kind and smart, but also the type of person who's shy and timid around strangers, but can be really hot-headed around people she knows. Jane does tend to be a little selfish at times and holds on to small things. For example, she let go of a really excellent guy she was dating in the past because of some petty things that cold been solved. I'm not saying this to be mean, BTW. Again, she can be kind and caring, but these are the full facts of the situation. And our parents also know of her nature. Jane is engaged to Jack, 35 male, who she's been with for the past couple years. They've sort of been on off, and it does seem like the engagement is a bit for show. Now, Dad has said that he won't be contributing to Jane and Jack's wedding because of Jane's nature and their unstable relationship, and he doesn't want his money to go to loss. Jane has said before that she and Jack can fund the wedding themselves, so they won't need Dad's contribution. Jane's full into the wedding planning stage and has stated Dad didn't offer her monetary. She got upset that he didn't offer. So I told her that. She said that they wouldn't need it anyway. Jane replied they wouldn't, but she thought he'd still ask because he did for us, me and half sister. She made an unnecessarily big deal about it. So I told her she knows full well why Dad didn't offer, and she's being petty as per usual. Jane got really mad and now blocked me on social media and isn't picking up my house messages. Our mom said I went too far. I don't think so, because they weren't going to take the money anyway. But was I? It stinks that you, as her sibling, even make the same reasoning to pretend that your sister has herself to blame for it. It is a big move on the part of your father to refuse to pay for the wedding because your sister broke up with someone over fixable problems. Comment by team member Cody. Now for the top comments. Info. What does sort of on again off again mean? And why do you think the engagement is for show? Your long post is a little sparse on specific details, which makes me think you're making excuses. Y'all are a manipulative bunch. Your sister has been nothing but nice, and you are this rude to her. Do you just hate her? For those who haven't seen the comments yet, the sister's arguments include going to visit a friend at the hospital instead of a family event, volunteering at a soup kitchen, and getting upset that someone went through her belongings to grab lotion, and then the icing on top for why the dad and the rest of the family doesn't like the fiancés because they all liked Jane's ex who cheated on her better and kept trying to convince her that he never cheated and to move on with him. Y'all are awful to your sister. AITA. People don't need any reason at all to break up with someone. Just not wanting to be with them is enough. It is a huge asshole move of your father to not want to pay for the wedding because your sister broke up with someone over fixable things, and it sucks that you, as her sibling, even use this same argument to pretend that your sister has herself to thank for it. I assume that your father and you have only had one female partner in your whole life. First one you kissed as a toddler. You kept until now?